In the heart of the Andromeda sector, orbiting a white star, floated the Galactic Council headquarters, Celestra Prime. A massive, shining structure shaped like a spoked wheel, it held the political weight of hundreds of planets. The council chamber, its largest hall, was already full. Delegates from across the galaxy sat in silence. A low hum filled the room as translation devices worked overtime to keep pace with hundreds of languages. At the center stood a man alone, Commander William Voss. Tall, composed, and wearing a dark blue uniform marked with Earth's silver insignia, he faced the entire council. His face was calm, but his eyes revealed the storm within. He pressed a button on the console in front of him. The chamber lights dimmed slightly as his voice echoed through the chamber. Honored members of the Galactic Council, William began. I come before you today with a message from the people of Earth. As of this moment, Earth formally withdraws from the Galactic Council. Gasps rippled through the assembly. Delegates turned to one another in shock. The representative from Varnish dropped his data pad. The usually calm Utheri envoy stood up in protest. Never in the Council's 300-year history had a core member left. William continued. We joined this council with hopes of peace, trade, and unity. But over the last decade, we've witnessed decisions made not for peace, but for control. We have seen the council interfere in sovereign matters, silence dissent, and protect only the strong. He paused, letting the weight of his words settle. We no longer believe this alliance represents the values we stand for. This decision was not easy, but it is final. A low beep signaled the end of his message. Then came silence. From the raised dais, High Chancellor Virek Thorn stood. His dark red robe shimmered in the low light, and his silver crown gleamed like a blade. Virek had led the council for over 2 decades. His voice, sharp and measured, sliced through the silence. Commander Voss, he said, this action is not only reckless, it is dangerous. Earth's withdrawal threatens the unity we've built for centuries. You are setting fire to a fragile peace. William didn't flinch. Peace without freedom is not peace, Chancellor. Virek's eyes narrowed. You will regret this. The galaxy will regret this. The Chancellor's threat hung heavy in the air. Around the chamber, the whispers grew louder. Some delegates nodded silently in support of Earth. Others looked frightened. A few stood to leave, their expressions unreadable. William turned without another word and walked away from the central podium. Each step echoed through the chamber, louder than any protest. He knew this wasn't just a political move. It was the beginning of a storm. Outside the chamber, as William stepped into the glass corridor that overlooked the planet below, he saw the stars stretching across the void. Peaceful, silent, deceptive. He tapped his comm device. This is Voss. Prepare the diplomatic transport. We're going home. Back on Earth, news of the withdrawal spread within minutes. On some continents, people cheered in the streets. On others, they protested in fear. Markets shivered. Spaceports closed. The future had shifted, and everyone could feel it. In the shadows of distant systems, unknown forces stirred. Some celebrated Earth's courage. Others saw an opportunity. And in the council chambers, Virek met with his inner circle. The Chancellor's face was still, but inside, a plan had already begun to form. Earth's choice would not go unpunished. Commander William Voss stood at the edge of Earth's capital city, Nova Berlin, watching the sunrise from the balcony of the Earth Diplomatic Command Tower. The skyline shimmered with metallic towers, each piercing the clouds. From this height, the city looked calm. But William knew better. Below the surface, tension was growing. It had been 3 days since Earth's official withdrawal from the Galactic Council. The world had changed overnight. Trade lanes had gone silent. Diplomatic transmissions were cut. Goods from allied planets vanished from shelves. Medical supplies from the Varney system were now weeks away, if they arrived at all. Spaceports across Earth's colonies were locked in disarray. Inside the tower's main control room, William walked slowly past glowing screens. Maps of the galaxy blinked red, showing collapsed routes and closed borders. Several council systems had already revoked Earth's trading rights. A few Earth cargo vessels had even been turned away by former allies. We've received distress calls from the Mars frontier, a young officer reported. Xaranth pirates hit a cargo convoy last night. No council patrols responded. William narrowed his eyes. That's the 3rd attack this week. The officer nodded. Yes, sir. Council patrols used to protect that corridor. Now, nothing. William knew this was no accident. It was a warning. Earth's enemies were watching, and so was the Council. Without protection, Earth's outer colonies were exposed. Pirates, mercenaries, even rogue warlords would seize this moment. Later that day, William sat before the United Earth Security Council, a room full of ministers and generals, each more worried than the last. "This was a mistake," said General Mendez, banging his fist on the table. "You've isolated us. We can't defend all our colonies alone." "We didn't choose isolation," William replied calmly. "We chose independence." "Call it what you want," said Minister Lyra, her voice sharp. "We're already paying the price. We have riots in Lagos, blackouts in the Antarctic cities, and colonies sending emergency requests. If this is peace, it doesn't feel like it." "I warned the council this wouldn't be easy," William said. "But we were losing control long before this. We were following laws we didn't write, fighting wars we didn't start. Earth needed to decide its own future again." The room fell silent. William looked around at the familiar faces. He had worked with many of them for years. Some agreed with him. Others feared what came next. That night, alone in his quarters, William reviewed intercepted data from Council communications. A private channel from Celestra Prime revealed something troubling. Chancellor Vyrek had issued a quiet directive to double patrol fleets around the neutral systems bordering Earth's territory. He knew what that meant. The Council was preparing for more than isolation. They were drawing lines. If Earth resisted, war could follow. William leaned back in his chair, staring at the stars through the window. He remembered how the galaxy once felt open, full of promise. Now, it was closing in. The next morning, a message arrived from Zephyra, a mid-tier system known for its trade hubs and neutrality. Their envoy's words were cautious but clear. "We believe Earth has made a bold move, but we also fear what comes next. If the Council begins to punish those who disagree, we may follow your path. Quietly, carefully, but we are watching." It was the first sign that not everyone stood with the Council. Some, like Zephyra, were waiting to see what Earth would do next. In the same hour, another report came in. A Council cargo vessel had bypassed Earth's blockade and delivered weapons to an old rival colony on Titan, a direct violation of neutrality agreements. Vyrek wasn't just punishing Earth economically. He was stirring unrest in Earth's own backyard. William paced the command room, fist clenched. The Chancellor was using shadows to make Earth bend. But he would not bend. Not now. He sent a single message to Earth's military leaders. "Prepare defensive positions across all outer colonies. We hold our ground, no matter what comes." As Earth braced for the unknown, the cracks in the Council's unity grew wider. The galaxy was shifting. Quietly. Slowly. But the storm was coming. Commander William Voss stood before Earth's high command, silent as the final decision was read aloud. "The Council of Nations does not authorize any further independent diplomatic missions beyond Earth space," said Minister Lyra. "We must focus on defense, not diplomacy." William's jaw tightened, but he gave a respectful nod. Inside, frustration burned. The Council had chosen caution over action, but William knew time was running out. Chancellor Vyrek's influence was spreading like a virus. Neutral systems were being pushed to choose sides. Pirate attacks were increasing. And hidden beneath it all, whispers of a Council-led false flag operation were growing louder. He couldn't wait for permission. That night, under the cover of darkness, William boarded an unmarked diplomatic vessel docked at Earth's northern orbital station. Only a small, loyal crew joined him, officers who trusted him, even if it meant going against orders. As the ship launched into space, William left a single message for Earth's leaders. "I am not abandoning Earth. I am protecting it. If war is coming, we need allies. I intend to find them." His first stop, Elion, a peaceful moon once used for diplomatic talks, now considered neutral territory. It lay on the border between Earth's influence and Council-controlled space. It was the only place where leaders from both sides still dared to meet quietly. The journey took 2 days. When the vessel arrived, Elion's surface sparkled like glass under twin suns. Great domed cities rested on smooth white plains, linked by tunnels and tubes that glowed softly in the dark. William's team landed without fanfare, dressed in simple clothes to avoid attention. Inside a marble-walled meeting hall, representatives from Zephyra, Narration, and Tessari waited in silence. Each had come with doubts and curiosity. No one wanted open war, but none trusted the Council's grip either. William stood before them and spoke plainly. "We don't need to start a rebellion. We need to survive what's already happening. Earth is being isolated. Zephyra is being threatened with sanctions. The Council is using fear to maintain control. This isn't unity. It's domination." The Zephyran envoy, an older woman named Alarito, leaned forward. "You say there's more. What aren't we seeing?" William took a small device from his coat and tapped it. A hologram appeared, intercepted messages from Celestra Prime, where Virex commanders discussed an operation known only as Project Mirrorfall. It suggested a plan to destroy a council vessel in neutral space and blame it on Earth's militia, enough to spark open conflict. The room grew quiet. Before anyone could speak, a blinding light filled the hall. Then shouting, a blast, and the sound of boots hitting the floor. The side wall exploded inward. Soldiers in black armor stormed in council operatives, well-armed and fast. William grabbed the envoy from Tessari and pulled her behind a column as shots rang out. His guards fired back, buying seconds of cover. Smoke filled the air. He shouted to the others, "There's a tunnel behind the dais, move now." The delegates ran. 2 Zephyrin guards fell behind, hit by stun rounds. William and his crew barely reached the emergency passage. They raced through a glass corridor as the sun set behind them, casting long shadows on the floor. Outside, their ship waited, cloaked and running on low power. The pilot opened the ramp just in time. As the vessel lifted off, William looked back. Elian was no longer neutral. The Council had crossed a line. Safely in orbit, William sat in the ship's dark control room. Ilarato nursed a cut on her arm, staring at him. "You were right," she said quietly. "They're forcing this war." William nodded. "And they'll make it look like we started it." She looked him in the eyes. Zephyr will not stay silent. One system, one voice. It was a beginning. As the ship jumped into hyperspace, William knew the road ahead was dangerous. The Council would hunt him. Earth would be blamed. But if the galaxy was going to survive, someone had to speak the truth. And he would not be silenced. The stars blurred past the ship's windows as Commander William Voss stared into hyperspace. His face was lit by the dim blue glow of the navigation screen, his mind turning over everything that had just happened on Elian. They were almost killed. The Council wasn't just watching, they were acting. Sending operatives. Silencing dissent. If there was still any doubt, it had vanished with the shattered walls of the Elian Hall. William's target was now clear, Oriones 9. A massive communication station floating at the edge of Council influence, Oriones 9 was a neutral hub for interstellar media, independent governments, and freelance information brokers. It was the last place in the galaxy where truth could still be shared freely, at least for now. The journey took 3 more days. William used that time to study the data he had pulled from the Council archives on Elian. Hidden among routine files and encrypted reports was the full layout of Project Mirrorfall. The plan was worse than he feared. A Council vessel, modified to carry an unstable core, was scheduled to travel near a civilian colony in Earth-aligned space. The ship would be destroyed by a remote detonation, leaving behind staged evidence pointing to Earth's militia. The explosion would kill thousands, trigger panic, and give the Council all the justification it needed for a full-scale assault. The plan was already in motion. The target, Saros Colony, home to over 30,000 settlers. William sat in silence, staring at the data. His crew watched him, waiting. "We leak this now," he said finally, "or there won't be anyone left to hear the truth." When their ship docked at Oriones 9, they were met with suspicion. The station's administrator, a sharp-tongued former journalist named Juno Kale, greeted them in the security bay. "You've got Council eyes on you," she said bluntly. "I don't like trouble, Commander." "This isn't about trouble," William replied. "It's about stopping a massacre." Inside her secure office, William laid out the evidence. Every line of code, every intercepted message, every route and timetable. Juno said nothing for a long time. Then she gave a slow nod. "I'll broadcast it. On every channel. But once this hits the airwaves, there's no turning back." "Do it," William said. An hour later, across hundreds of star systems, the message went live. Images of the Council's secret plan flashed across millions of screens. People watched in disbelief as recordings played Council admirals discussing ship modifications, orders signed by Virek himself, and the planned timing of the detonation. The galaxy reacted fast. In Earth's colonies, panic turned into resolve. On Zephyra, citizens took to the streets, demanding their leaders cut ties with the Council. On neutral worlds, old fears reignited. Some systems pulled their ambassadors from Celestra Prime. Others began forming private defense pacts, unofficial, but clear in intent. And on the Council capital, Virek was furious. Inside the dark halls of the Chancellor's Tower, Virek held an emergency session with his inner circle. His cold gaze swept across the table. "We've lost control of the story," he said. "We must regain it through action." An admiral asked quietly, "What should we target first?" Virek answered without hesitation. "Earth." Back on Oriones 9, William watched the news feeds. Some networks called him a hero. Others accused him of spreading lies. But more and more voices were questioning the Council's power. The spark had been lit. Just as William was about to return to his ship, a report came in. The Council fleet was mobilizing. Massive warships left Celestra Prime in formation, heading toward Earth's border colonies. The Saros colony had evacuated in time, but Vyrek was no longer pretending. There would be no staged attack. Now it was open aggression. William looked at the stars through the station window. The silence of space felt heavier now. He turned to his crew. "It's begun," he said. "We have to get home. We need to prepare." "Prepare for what?" one of them asked. William's voice was steady. "The war for the galaxy's future." The stars above Earth glowed dimmer than usual. Spaceports were quiet. Civilian flights were grounded. Outer colonies stood ready, shields up, weapons charged. Earth was holding its breath. Commander William Voss stood in the Earth Defense Command Center, a large circular room deep beneath the Nova Berlin complex. Giant holomaps flickered on the walls, showing fleet positions and political shifts. Every hour, new reports poured in, some encouraging, many alarming. Across the galaxy, the fallout from the broadcast of Project Mirrorfall was spreading fast. Some systems, once loyal to the Council, had gone silent. Others had started asking questions. But more importantly, a few had spoken out. Loudly. Zephyra, long known for neutrality and diplomacy, issued a direct statement condemning the Council's actions. They demanded an independent investigation and suspended all cooperation with Celestra Prime. The statement ended with a chilling warning. "If one voice can be silenced, all will be. We will not stand down." Other systems followed. Narration, a mining world, offered Earth emergency fuel supplies. Tessari, a farming colony in the Outer Belt, began mobilizing civilian defense forces. The galaxy was splitting, not with blasters and bombs, but with words and loyalties. Inside the Council, Chancellor Vyrek had changed his strategy. No more deception. No more diplomacy. The Council began moving fleets toward Earth's border systems. Officially, they called it a containment maneuver. But everyone knew the truth. It was the beginning of a military offensive. Earth's outer colonies, Saros, Titan, and New Calais, were now under threat. "We cannot win this alone," said General Mendez during a strategy briefing. "They have more ships, more men, and more reach." "We don't need to win alone," William replied. "We just need to survive long enough for the rest of the galaxy to wake up." Suddenly, a priority message blinked on the main screen. It was encoded in Zephyran diplomatic code. William leaned forward. "This is Alerito. Zephyra, Narration, and Tessari have formed a temporary defensive alliance. We are prepared to intercept Council fleets headed for Earth space. We stand with you." The command center erupted in noise, some in shock, others in relief. William stood still, eyes fixed on the screen. "We have our first allies," he said quietly. Within hours, the galaxy shifted again. In deep space near the Velis Expanse, just outside Earth's neutral zone, a fleet of Zephyran and Narration ships formed a blockade. They didn't fire a single shot. But their message was clear. If the Council entered Earth space, they would meet resistance. Council ships halted just kilometers from the line. Tension thickened. For a full day, no one moved. In Nova Berlin, people flooded the streets to watch the updates on towering city screens. Children in colony schools paused classes to listen to broadcast reports. No one knew what would happen next. Inside Celestra Prime, Vyrek paced the polished floor of the Grand Strategy Chamber. His advisors looked tense. The war he wanted had not begun the way he had planned. He had underestimated the effect of one voice. One message. "He's turned the outer systems against us," muttered an admiral. "They're choosing freedom over fear." Vyrek didn't respond. He stared at the holographic galaxy map, a red line dividing Earth and its allies from the rest of the Council's territory. Then came the final shift. An anonymous leak inside the Council exposed more documents, years of hidden operations, bribery, surveillance programs targeting independent systems. The leak flooded across public networks. Trust in the Council crumbled. Even core member planets began questioning Vyrek's rule. Earth had not won, but the Council had lost its image. Its grip was slipping. Back in Nova Berlin, William stood in the shadow of the defense tower, staring out at the sky. For the first time in days, he allowed himself a breath of calm. The galaxy was no longer united, but neither was it under control. The war had not begun with battleships. It had begun with truth. The galaxy had reached its breaking point. Tensions, once hidden beneath treaties and trade deals, now burned in the open. News networks across 100 star systems played the same headlines. Council warships on Earth's border. Zephyr Alliance holds line. Voss calls for emergency summit. In Nova Berlin, the city was silent. Streets were empty. People stayed indoors, watching the skies, waiting for the first explosion. But it hadn't come. Not yet. Commander William Voss knew it was the last chance to avoid all-out war. He stood in the war room with Earth's leadership and his most trusted allies, including envoys from Zephyra, Narration, and Tessari, who had arrived in secret through a hidden slipstream channel. "The galaxy's watching," William said. "If we don't act now, this ends in blood." "What do you suggest?" asked Alarito of Zephyra. "Vyrek has the ships. He has the firepower. And he still has the fear of half the council behind him." William looked at her with calm certainty. "Then we fight him with something stronger." He tapped a console and brought up a plan. Not a military one, but a broadcast. "I want a public summit. A live transmission, galaxy-wide. We face Vyrek directly, with every system watching. We show them what this council has become. And we ask them to choose." It was risky. Vyrek could deny it, or worse, attack during the summit. But it was their only hope. The message was sent to Celestra Prime. A call for a galaxy-wide emergency summit, hosted from a secure neutral station, Arden Spire, a small diplomatic hub in deep space. The council would attend. So would Earth and its new allies. To everyone's surprise, Vyrek agreed. 3 days later, the Arden Spire summit began. The station hovered alone in the darkness between stars, guarded by ships from both sides. Inside the great dome of the central chamber, representatives from dozens of systems filled the seats. Thousands more watched live from every planet, colony, and ship across the galaxy. At the center of the chamber stood two figures, Chancellor Vyrek Thorn and Commander William Voss. Vyrek wore his signature crimson robes, his eyes cold and calculating. William stood in his Earth uniform, plain and simple, hands steady at his sides. "I come here not to beg," William said, his voice echoing through the hall, "but to speak truth." He showed the proof again, Project Mirrorfall, the attack that never happened because they exposed it. He played clips of council leaders threatening neutral worlds, and revealed the documents leaked from inside the council's own chambers. He spoke not with anger, but with conviction. "When fear is used to keep peace," he said, "it's not peace. It's control. And it always ends in ruin." Then he turned to Vyrek. "You used to stand for unity, but now you lead through fear. You've betrayed the ideals you swore to protect." Vyrek's response was cold. "Unity requires strength. You've weakened it. Earth's rebellion is not noble, it's chaos. Without the council, the galaxy falls apart." But murmurs from the crowd said otherwise. Even some of Vyrek's closest allies looked uneasy. Then the moment came. William stepped forward, calm but firm. "I propose a vote. Right here. Right now. The dissolution of the current Galactic Council. And the formation of a new, open alliance, where every voice matters." The room fell silent. One by one, systems cast their votes. Zephyra, yes. Narration, yes. Tessari, yes. Tyrones, yes. Even several core members of the council turned their backs on Vyrek and voted yes. The Chancellor stood frozen. For the first time, he saw that his grip on the galaxy was gone. His own military advisors, watching from the command bay, exchanged glances. Then one of them stepped forward. "The military no longer supports this regime, Chancellor." And just like that, Vyrek's reign ended. He did not speak another word. He simply turned and walked out of the chamber. Hours later, the Arden Spire declared the Galactic Council officially dissolved. In its place, a new alliance was proposed, the Concord of Free Worlds, where systems would hold equal voting rights, and no single leader would ever again rule alone. On Earth, cheers erupted. Screens lit up with the word, "Peace." In the quiet of the station, William stood alone for a moment, looking out into the stars. He felt tired, but not empty. The burden was heavy, but the future was lighter. A voice came from behind him. "Ilarito, you did it, Commander." He shook his head. "No," he said. "We did." Weeks had passed since the summit on Arden Spire. The galaxy was different now. Gone was the towering power of the old Galactic Council. In its place, the Concord of Free Worlds was taking shape. It was fragile, just a name, a charter, and a few agreements, but it was real. Systems that once feared speaking out were now sitting at the same table, sharing ideas, not threats. On Earth, the skies were calm again. Warships returned to their docks. Shields lowered. Trade lines slowly reopened. People stepped outside and looked up, not in fear, but in hope. Commander William Voss stood on the balcony of the Earth Diplomatic Tower in Nova Berlin, just as he had weeks earlier. But this time, the weight on his shoulders felt lighter. The wind carried sounds from below, children playing, vendors calling out in the markets, music echoing from the streets. Life was returning. Behind him, the large glass doors slid open. Ilarato entered, wearing a light gray diplomatic robe. She stood beside him, silent for a moment. Zephyr's transport just docked, she said. The Concorde's first working council session begins tomorrow. William nodded. It's a start. A start? She echoed, then glanced at him. And what about you? Will you stay involved? He looked back toward the sky. I've done what I needed to do. The next chapter belongs to others now. Leaders, diplomats, people who believe in building, not just surviving. Ilara smiled faintly. You know they'll still look to you. You lit the fire. He sighed. I never wanted to lead the galaxy. Just help it wake up. They stood in silence, watching as stars began to twinkle above. Freighters moved in steady patterns through the sky. Somewhere beyond the horizon, small ships carried supplies to colonies once left to fend for themselves. Rebuilding had begun. Later that night, William walked alone through the halls of the Earth Defense Command for the last time. He paused at the wall of names, those who had fallen in service, including his own former mentor, Admiral Harlan Reese. He traced the name with his fingers and whispered a quiet promise. We didn't let it burn. In the command center, his crew stood waiting. Familiar faces, men and women who had risked everything with him. He thanked each of them personally. No speeches, no ceremony. Just words from the heart. At dawn, William boarded a small personal cruiser. No escort. No weapons. His destination, unknown. The ship lifted gently off the launch pad and climbed through Earth's atmosphere. He looked down one last time as the blue planet curved beneath him. Then he looked ahead toward open stars, uncharted space, and quiet. He didn't know where he would go. But for the first time in years, the galaxy felt like it belonged to everyone again. Not to emperors. Not to councils. Just to the people who called it home. And that was enough.